So I refuse to be as formal as Mr. Sawyer here. You can flip me off all you want. It's gonna, yeah. Now it's not even gonna be on YouTube. Okay, great. Now it is. Okay. Anyways, I'm actually really excited to start up a Monger group that's fairly more inclusive and kind of fits my target demographic more. So that's actually kind of cool. Anyways, I am going to be talking about CloudPAN. Who here has ever searched like metacpan.org and said, you know what, this module looks really great, but now I have to install it, and I don't have permissions, I have to go contact system administrators, I gotta go do a whole bunch of crap, basically to just test out this module that I think will solve my problem. Anybody? There you go. Yeah, exactly. So, in 2012, at the QA Hackathon, I was helping out a little bit with metacpan, specifically the API to metacpan itself. If you're unfamiliar with metacpan, it's fantastic. Basically, it is. Here, I'm going to fire up a browser real quick. Basically, it is a open source search.cpan.org built on top of Elasticsearch, and it exposes an API that we can programmatically get in touch with here. Browser, Chrome. Okay, and do some really cool things. So I'm just going to bring up metacpan real quick. It'll probably be org. And there we go. This is metacpan. If you have not used metacpan or you still have links to search.cpan.org, I highly recommend you switching over to metacpan because you can just type in something and like magic, there it is. One of the features that the module I wrote basically exposes is the ability to pull down source files from metacpan and basically expose this functionality right here. Look at that. That is the source to that module. That is raw. That is ready to go. And you can get access to this via the API. Anyways, I worked on a tiny version of the metacpan API using HTTP Tiny because it was in core. And the goal was to basically incorporate metacpan querying into the cpan client so that instead of having to download entire packages .o2.gz or whatever the hell the cpan thing is, instead you could just make a very light API call and inquiry for the module that you had in mind. With that said, let's fire up a REPL and let's talk about CloudPAN. CloudPAN is the module that fell out of this, in that I saw that, hey, I can pull down source code from metacpan on the fly. And then there's this wonderful concept called ink hooks in Perl. Who here knows about ink hooks? Okay, who has used an ink hook at one point? Okay. If you don't know what ink hooks are, basically they are the facility for you to modify or programmatically attack. I say attack, but make use of includes in Perl. So you know how you can modify the ink array to add directories, to load modules arbitrarily, blah blah blah. Well, you can actually store a subroutine into @ink, and it will execute if it comes across this particular entry and it hasn't found the module yet. So I exploit that to make CloudPAN work. Before I use the module, because it actually fucks with ink, let's just try something like use Dancer. I don't have Dancer installed. Can't locate Dancer. Okay, well, I can go and install Dancer. I don't want to go and have to install it, sysadmins, and the whole rigmarole. So why don't we try this instead? So very quick. And now when I use Dancer, it'll sit here for a little while, because what it is actually doing is recursively downloading all of the dependencies for Dancer live from CloudPAN. So, yeah.
I have two quick questions. So
yes.
One, is it actually grabbing the source jar files, or is
yes.
it just...
No, it's grabbing the source files.
Oh, so, okay. Then my next question is going to be, is it running tests? I'm guessing not.
No. It is pulling the files down and loading them.
Okay.
So now that I have Dancer, let's see here. Give me some Dancerness here. Like what? Git slash. Like so.
Sub hello.
Sub hello.
In
quotes. Right? Okay, so we do that. Hey, look at that. It made some Dancer routes. That's kind of cool. And then we can just call dance, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so it looks like it's listening. Let's go plug this into the browser. And we can see what's going on here. Hey, look. Tab. Paste this in. Hello. Bam. Look at that. Dancer. Live. So a little bit about how this works. Let's go and take a look here at CloudPAN, and I can show you the source for it. It's incredibly simple. So basically, on import is when we do all the magic. So that we store something directly in. Is it on import that I do that? Hell if I know. But you can see the methods here. So like fetch them from CloudPAN. So it does this horrible thing, because if you've never used Elasticsearch, it's interesting because it's a Java program. That uses Lucene to do indexing and do searching and that kind of stuff. But it's Java land, and they decided to use JSON like XML, so you end up with, oh, hey, look, this is the return structure. Oh, hits, and oh, my goodness, all of that just to make sure that I can pull out the value that I want. It's terrible. Okay, so here's where the ink hook is. So as you can see, pushing into add ink.
Can you increase the font size?
Yeah, let me make it bigger here. How about that? Is that big enough?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So here I am. I'm pushing a subroutine into ink, and it's checking for options location if you want to save the code somewhere. Otherwise, basically it just fetches from CloudPAN a content ref. We create a temporary file, print it to it, seek to 0, and then return the file handle. So what this allows Perl to do is to essentially take this file handle and slurp the contents out of it and evaluate it, and do the compilation routine. And it works. Now, how this works as well is because I've stuffed a subroutine into @inc, this will execute every time that it comes across this particular entry. So the things that you don't have installed, this is at the end of inc, so it's exhausted everything else on the file system, and it can't find it. So it comes across this entry in @inc and executes it, and that's how it recursively pulls down all the dependencies. Dancer has, I don't know how many pure Perl.
Dancer one, very few.
Very few, yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of the magic. Yeah, what's up?
So since it just pushes onto ink, you have to be careful if you want to use local lib. You have to do it in front of using CloudPAN, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's anytime you're going to mess with @inc, you want to be very sure about the order of operations, because it does sequentially go through each entry in @inc. If you want more information on how @inc works, Perl documentation. Stefan, do you remember where
For
it,
the wash.
do what?
For the wash.
Yeah, Perlvar
Perl
talks about
I
it,
think
but
Perl mod talks about it, and I think Perl doc-f require talks about it as well.
yeah, require. But you can definitely look at it in the Perl documentation and pull this up. So this was just a quick hack that I did. It does have the option for persistence. Let me just go back to the documentation real quick. Pretty much, you can tell it. You can tell it where to persist.
Proceed would mean on a local cache across bounds.
Yes, exactly. Now it doesn't do any cache invalidation, so you'd probably have to clear that out first. But if you wanted to use CloudPAN to pull things down into your home directory, for example, and then have those available for the next time you execute the script, it will pull it from there instead of from the intranets. So that is one thing. Now I've always wanted to hack on this a little bit more to integrate it fully with like a security stack, into authenticate to meta CPAN and hashes and all of that. Just as a dependency distribution, I guess, for like simple scripts. I just have never gotten to that. So, anyways, yeah, CloudPAN. Questions, comments?
Do you specify versions for modules?
Not when, I think if you pass a version argument to it, it will still fetch it, and then do the version check and then fail. But it's not going to, at the CloudPAN level, go and fetch in.
The encode doesn't have that information.
Right, yeah, exactly.
You have to do something to install or to get that.
Yeah.
I can imagine if the voice was none of them all. Okay.
Yeah, no, you would have to. So you could probably.
You have to like fetch all
You don't know the versions or something.
Yeah, you can. Well, no, I don't want to walk the stack, but you can maybe like option wise, like you say, prefer latest, because that's what it does by default. Is it prefers the latest. You could give it a whitelist or a blacklist of modules and what versions you prefer, and then it can use the MetaCPAN API to fetch those specific ones as long as they're still indexed. But yeah. So that's CloudPAN. Any other questions?
And on those one, what happens when it encounters a binary dependency?
Okay, so right. So that is under this big giant caveats here. Oh no, maybe it's not. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is. Basically, if there's anything that requires XS, it will not do that compilation. It will fail miserably. So,
Increase the font size again.
yes. I'm sorry. There. No, it will not. It will not do XS modules. Now, I had thought of a crazy way to do that using Stefan's TCC module. Basically, it's an interpreted like C compiler kind of thing. No, it's a C compiler that you can use at like runtime, right? You just distribute it.
Compiles shit in memory.
Yeah.
Links it from memory.
So I considered doing something crazy like that to get it to work. Now the other option that you could do too is if you compile the SOs and put them somewhere else, then you could pull them down and CloudPAN would still work. Because you're just fetching the file itself. So if you were to distribute SOs in a tarball, then you could do that, but that's kind of ugly.
Is there a way to prevent some modules from being downloaded and compiled?
Yeah.
But for example, if I want a dancer only, but
Yeah.
none of its dependencies, like there is no way to block it from propagating to another person.
Well, you can have them installed locally, and then it won't try and fetch them.
You can also set something like %p.
Yeah.
And it'll just go like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
what I wanted.
I mean, my idea is like I wanted to go one dependency by one,
Okay.
like in ad hoc mode, if you will,
Okay.
and stop at each next missed dependency. So I like have the control over it
Okay.
and avoid it going too far.
To get interactive mode, so it prompts you.
Interesting. You could hack that in. Like every time the hook fires, you could, you know, term, read line, something or another to ask.
Well, I'm asking because when you showed us that in the first place, you just basically said use Dancer.
Yeah.
It sort of scared me because what I would expect is like use CloudPAN was Dancer, like explicitly ask someone.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's, I don't know, looks scary.
Because it absolutely is scary. Yes, exactly. Someone could easily man in the middle of your connection and feed you bogus code to run. Seriously, don't use this in production code. It's in the pod. It's documented.
Everyone
It's a
reads
bad
documentation,
idea.
so.
The only reason why you should ever use this code is explicitly in the case of, I want to try out a module without having to install it, and then I can use it from devel REPL and magically ship it once. I know I use it a lot here when doing development and wanting to test out modules. That it's by far the easiest way to do so.
If you test something, you also want to know how many dependencies you're dragging along, right?
So you could always dump, hashing and just see what got loaded.
That actually would be kind of cool if you did use Dancer and it, did its recursive walk, it said, I installed this many times.
Yeah.
You could have like a verbose one. That would be cool.
Patch as well. Well volunteered, sir. I fully expect your patch tomorrow morning.
Any suggestions?
Can you have them figure the operators and get up, like, right now?
Does the magic mechanism only get triggered if I cannot locate the module?
Correct.
So if I just want to use a newer version of the module I already have installed, I still have to go and install it myself.
Right, now you could move the hook to the front of Ink and just have it load everything, regardless of what's on the file system. That's certainly something. It's not configured that way, but you could always modify the code to do so. To basically do an unshift.
So you can implement all this to be like use CloudPAN something.
Yeah, and to alter the
What
behavior.
you're doing, you can just do whatever you want. You can do like specific versions.
Yep.
Latest version independent of the Java, so you can do all sorts of that.
Yep. It's incredibly simple code. I mean, you saw it. I mean, it's not like it's rocket surgery or anything. Well, they're not this one, but the other one.
Does it have a simple tiny URL for installation like locallib does, where you can just type it?
No, it doesn't, and it should. But you know what? You could literally just go over here and source raw and just pipe that into Perl, and it would just work.
Use CloudPAN to install Cloud.
You could. You absolutely could.
You're using Metacpan API, so that's the thing.
Well, Metacpan API Tiny, yeah. Now you could fat packer it because Metacpan API Tiny is also pure Perl. The whole stack should be pure Perl or Core. So it is something that you can very easily fat packer. And if you're not familiar with fat packer, I highly recommend you Google it. It's fantastic. Okay.